In the remote town of Black Hollow, an air of mystery hung like the thick fog that rolled in from the surrounding woods. The townspeople, accustomed to their quiet, uneventful lives, were thrown into a state of curious excitement when a circus appeared overnight on the outskirts of town. The circus was unlike any they had seen before. Its tents were a deep, velvety black, adorned with crimson banners that fluttered ominously in the wind. The clowns, with their painted faces and exaggerated features, moved with an unsettling grace, drawing the townspeople into their eerie performances. Lila, a young woman with a fascination for the macabre, was particularly captivated by the circus. Her dark hair framed a pale face that seemed to belong more to the shadows than the light, and her eyes, wide and curious, were drawn to the silent clown known only as the Mute. His performances were mesmerizing, his movements fluid and deliberate, as if communicating a language only Lila could understand. The Mute's face was painted in stark white, with black tears streaming down from hollow eyes, and his lips were sewn shut with thin black thread, a grotesque smile forever etched upon his face. As Lila delved deeper into the circus's secrets, she discovered that the Mute was not silent by choice. The ringmaster, a sinister figure known as Madame Vesper, had silenced him. Madame Vesper was a woman of striking beauty and terrifying presence, her raven-black hair cascading down her back like a dark waterfall. Her eyes were cold and calculating, and her smile, though charming, never reached them. She wielded her clowns as conduits, using them to manipulate the townspeople, feeding on their fears and desires. Lila learned of Madame Vesper's tragic past, a tale steeped in betrayal and blood. Once a celebrated performer, Vesper had been wronged by those she trusted, her heart hardened by the cruelty of the world. In her quest for revenge, she had turned to dark magic, binding the souls of her troupe to her will. The clowns, once vibrant and full of life, were now hollow shells, their spirits trapped in a perpetual nightmare. The Mute, Lila discovered, was the key to breaking Madame Vesper's hold. His silence was both a curse and a protection, shielding him from the full extent of Vesper's power. Lila felt a connection to him, a bond forged in shared understanding and unspoken words. Together, they devised a plan to turn the circus's dark magic against its master. As the final performance approached, the tension in the air was palpable, like the charged stillness before a storm. The townspeople, blissfully unaware of the danger lurking beneath the circus's enchanting facade, flocked to the big top, eager for another night of entertainment. The anticipation was electric, the air thick with the mingling scents of popcorn and sawdust. Lila, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination, took her place among them. Her eyes never left the Mute, who stood at the edge of the stage, his presence both haunting and magnetic. She could feel the weight of what was to come, a pivotal moment that could change everything. The performance began with a haunting melody, the music weaving through the air like a ghostly whisper. It was a tune that seemed to seep into the very bones of the audience, a melody that was both beautiful and unsettling. The clowns emerged from the shadows, their painted faces gleaming under the dim lights. They danced and tumbled across the stage, their movements a grotesque ballet that held the audience in thrall. Each step was precise, each gesture a blend of grace and horror, as if they were marionettes controlled by unseen strings. Madame Vesper watched from the shadows, her eyes glinting with a cold, calculating light. Her presence was a dark cloud over the proceedings, a reminder of the sinister power she wielded. As the Mute took the stage, the atmosphere shifted. The air seemed to hum with a strange energy, a palpable force that drew every eye to him. His performance was a dance of defiance, each movement a silent rebellion against his captor. He moved with a fluid grace that seemed otherworldly, his body telling a story of pain and resistance. The audience watched, entranced, their breaths held in collective anticipation. Lila felt the magic in the air, a tangible force that crackled with energy, wrapping around her like a shroud. It was as if the mute was speaking directly to her, his silent performance a call to arms. In a daring act of defiance, the mute reached up and pulled at the threads that bound his lips. The black stitches came undone, one by one, each thread falling away like the unraveling of a dark spell. A soundless scream echoed through the tent, a cry of anguish and liberation that resonated in the hearts of all who heard it. The clowns, sensing the shift in power, began to break free from their enchantment. Their painted faces cracked, revealing the tortured souls trapped beneath. It was a moment of raw, unfiltered emotion, a transformation that was both terrifying and beautiful. The audience watched in stunned silence, the reality of the circus's dark magic laid bare before them. The air was thick with the scent of fear and liberation, a potent mix that hung heavy in the tent. The clowns, once puppets under Madame Vesper's control, now moved with a newfound freedom, their eyes alight with a fire that had long been extinguished. Lila felt a surge of hope, a flicker of light in the darkness that had threatened to consume her. The mute, his face now free of its grotesque bindings, stood tall and defiant, a beacon of resistance against the tyranny of Madame Vesper. The circus, once a place of shadows and secrets, was now a stage for rebellion, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of forces. Madame Vesper, realizing her control was slipping, stepped forward, her eyes blazing with fury like twin orbs of molten fire. Her elegant form, once a symbol of grace and command, now seemed to tremble with barely contained rage. The air around her crackled with tension, a palpable energy that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. But it was too late. The dark magic that had once been her weapon, her shield, now turned against her, a storm of spectral energy that tore through the tent with a ferocity that mirrored her own desperation. The very fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist, the shadows coming alive to dance in a chaotic frenzy. The clowns, united in their newfound freedom, turned their gaze upon her, their eyes filled with a vengeance that had been long denied. Their faces, once masks of painted joy, now bore expressions of grim determination, their spirits no longer shackled by her cruel enchantments. In a final, desperate act, Madame Vesper unleashed her own power, a torrent of shadows that sought to consume everything in its path. The darkness surged forward, a living entity that writhed and twisted, its tendrils reaching out to envelop the world in a suffocating embrace. But the mute, now free to speak, uttered a single word, a command that shattered the darkness like a hammer striking glass. The sound reverberated through the air, a clarion call that cut through the chaos with the precision of a blade. The shadows recoiled, their malevolent intent dissipating like mist under the morning sun. Madame Vesper's power crumbled, her form dissolving into a wisp of smoke that vanished into the night, leaving behind only the echo of her anguished scream. As the circus vanished as mysteriously as it had arrived, Lila stood among the ruins, her heart heavy with the weight of what had transpired. The ground beneath her feet was littered with the remnants of the spectacle, a testament to the night's events that would linger in the memory of those who had witnessed it. The clowns, their souls finally at peace, faded into the ether, leaving behind only the memory of their haunting laughter. It was a sound that would linger in the air long after they had gone, a reminder of the joy and sorrow that had intertwined to create their tragic existence. Lila, though victorious, was left with a haunting memory and a newfound strength, a reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the world. She knew that the shadows would always be there, waiting to reclaim what was theirs. But she also knew that she had the power to stand against them, a beacon of light in the encroaching gloom.